Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Falcon Focus podcast. We come to you live from the CUW cafeteria, live here on Tuesdays from 9:30 to 10 a.m., live on Facebook Live. We are archived at CUWFalcons.com. You can download the audio thanks to Podbean and listen through iTunes. My name is Matt Menzl. Great to be back after we were off last week for Thanksgiving. We can tell we've been off, got the microphone finally working. We're back live with you, and we will be will be the case next Tuesday and the week thereafter prior to the holiday break. But with this week comes an unveiling of a brand new format to the Falcon Focus podcast, as we no longer will spend much of any time recapping the week that was or previewing the week that will be in Falcon athletics, but instead we'll be focused more on our guests here during the next 30 minutes. And in this case, we'll be joined by a couple of guests talking CUW athletics, as we will dig even deeper into who they are, what they do, and in some cases, more about their particular sports. As for the week that was and the week that will be in Falcon athletics, you can check out the various CUW Falcon social media platforms. Look for the all-new weekly 2-minute drill when Logan Jones will recap and, again, preview the week in Falcon athletics. Now, as far as our show goes, our guest this week, we'll talk men's hockey. That was senior forward Steffen Seel. 3 games so far. He's been able to score a couple of goals off of 7 shots. And Falcons sit with 2 victories, 5 defeats, and 1 tie, coming off a couple of wins this past weekend, and now preparing for a game on Friday, visiting Aurora with the puck being dropped at 2:50 in the afternoon. We'll be home on Saturday at 7 o'clock against Lake Forest. We'll also talk with the Director of Sports Medicine, Angie Steffen, a former Concordia softball pitcher. That and more as we continue with the all-new Falcon Focus podcast. Welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast as we talk men's hockey. That was senior forward Steffen Seel, as the Falcon hockey team again will be back in action this weekend, as mentioned, with games at Aurora, but also home against Lake Forest. Hope to see you at the Ozaki Ice Center on Saturday at 7 p.m. And first of all, how was your Thanksgiving?
Good. Didn't really have one because we were on the road, but we got Thanksgiving meal Saturday for pregame, so that was nice. But being Canadian, we already had it in October once.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it was kind of our second go at it.
Now, are you a big turkey guy? Not so much?
Not huge on the turkey, but all the sides. That's my favorite.
I'm guessing from a Thanksgiving standpoint, when you look throughout your time, you're probably always busy with hockey, some kind of hockey-related activity.
Yeah, we're usually always gone. So I think that's why we have our Thanksgiving Cup with Bethel usually. So they're either here or we're there usually.
Well, let's talk about your hockey life, and let's begin at the beginning. What was, at least as far as you remember, your first exposure to hockey?
Yeah, so I didn't actually grow up traditionally like playing hockey like most kids in Canada do, because my parents weren't into it. So I started with other sports, and then all my friends were in hockey, so then I wanted to go in hockey. So I think that was probably around grade 4. Then got into it huge all through high school, and then junior hockey, and then college.
So with hockey not being at least on the forefront, what sports did you try first?
Soccer. I played a lot of soccer growing up, and then skiing was a big one too, from the mountains, so skiing a bunch. And then eventually skiing and hockey conflicted, so you had to pick one, and I stuck with hockey.
You mentioned most of your friends were playing hockey, and so that's kind of how you got involved. Did you at least watch a lot of hockey, or did again just?
Not when I was young, no. Because like I said, like my dad can barely skate. My mom is from Europe, so she didn't grow up with it either. So it wasn't big in our household, but then once I got into it, that's pretty much all I did. And then my younger brother played too. So then we became a big hockey family every weekend and watching a ton of hockey. That's pretty much consumed our lives.
At least early on, was hockey a big challenge? Was it a struggle for you to kind of grasp the concept, or was it something that you were able to gravitate more quickly?
I don't think it was too bad, because I'd played other sports, so I knew how to be in a team atmosphere, and I knew how to skate. I learned how to skate when I was young. I guess the biggest thing that helped me too was road hockey. We played that every day when we got home. So my garage had tons of dents in it from playing road hockey with all my friends every day after school. So you get the hang of it pretty quick when you're a kid.
So when did you start maybe watching NHL hockey?
Oh, I'd say right around when I started. Okay. Probably, that same age.
Did you have a favorite team, favorite player growing up?
Yeah, Canucks. I was always a Canucks fan because I'm from BC, so I followed them religiously. Still do. They're really bad right now, unfortunately. But almost won the Cup in 2011. So.
You look player-wise. Who are some of your favorite players, maybe today or even back then growing up?
Growing up, I always was a big fan of the Sedins, just the way they could pass the puck.
Okay.
I like playing the way they do. Like, they control the puck the entire time. They don't give away possession. And it was like they had eyes in the back of their head. So it was really cool to watch them play with each other. And along the way through my career, I've had a few guys that I've been able to build chemistry like that with, that you kind of always know where they are. That's really cool when you experience that.
Now, have you always been a forward? Have you always had that offensive mindset, or have you tried a couple of different positions?
Yeah, no, I've always been forward. I've always liked to score goals. It's been the most fun. In hindsight, it would have been nice if I knew I was going to be tall and big, if I would have played D, because I think that would have been beneficial, and you're always looking for good D-men. So in hindsight, that would have been nice, but stuck with forward now. So
you look in hockey, unlike other sports, the path is not always high school to college. There's a stop in there at the junior level. What was your path, at least eventually getting to Concordia?
Yeah, so I played minor hockey until I was 16. And then when I was 17, I made the transition to junior. So I moved away about 2.5 hours from home and put up with a billet family. And I played a year of junior B. And then I did pretty well there. So then I moved up a level. I played junior A in Saskatchewan for 2 years. And then my 19-year-old year, I got traded to Alberta, so I played another year of junior A, so 4 years. So
you got traded?
Yeah, I got traded my 19-year-old year, or actually my 20-year-old year.
Okay.
So that was kind of a cool experience. A big uproot from being in one billet family, one home for 2 years, and then you get traded to a different city, but it was a good experience. I had another great family in Grand Prairie that put me up. Mm-hmm. And really enjoyed my last year there. So yeah, I had 4 years of junior, and I guess I would have been 16 still when I left home the first time. I was still in high school. But yeah, it was awesome. And then my 20-year-old year, I talked to the assistant coach here at the time, and he kind of kept in contact with me, and I was considering a few schools, and then eventually decided to come here.
As far as playing for a junior team, is that something you can just do? Do you have to try out for? How do you go about finding a team, a program to play for?
Yeah, it's scouted pretty heavily. So you have scouts from all the different leagues and all the different levels that'll come talk to you. So for me, the transition was junior B scouts first, and then once I played junior B, then there were the junior A scouts, and they come talk to you. And if you get scouted to go there, you'll probably make the team, because they kind of slot you in a spot. But there are times where you just go to camp and try and make it. And I'm really glad that part of my life is over. It's pretty stressful every spring. You're going to spring camps, and then all throughout the summer camp, and then fall camp to try and make teams. So it's pretty stressful.
What's the travel like? You spend a lot of time on coach buses.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a lot of lengthy trips?
Yeah, especially junior hockey. That's all you do is bus from place to place, and you're playing 60 games a year. So we had some 8-10-hour road trips in the SJ and the AJ, where we would, and they're all late games, not like college. We get an early game on a Saturday, so we get home at a decent time. In junior, you'll still play at 7 o'clock on a Saturday, so you'll be done at 9:30, 10, and then you could have an 8 or 10 hour bus ride back. So it wasn't uncommon that you'd get back and it's light out the next morning, like 6 in the morning or something. So, yeah, you spend a lot of time on the bus, but that's kind of where your camaraderie is built with your teammates and stuff. So it's a good time still.
Can you sleep on a bus?
Not comfortably, no. But I think I'm being tall. It's a bit unfortunate, but you try every different way, and eventually, I think you just get so tired you pass out, even though your neck's kinked 8 different ways. So.
You mentioned the schedule, and that's something that just jumps out at me because you're playing 60-plus games. I mean, compared to now where you're playing 20-plus at the collegiate level. Is that a big challenge? You know, you go to the junior level, and that's all you're doing is pretty much eating, sleeping, breathing hockey. But, again, keep your body in shape and to not break down and to be mentally strong. Is that a challenge?
Yeah, I think it is. It's definitely an adjustment. It's different than college. But at the same time, your sole focus is hockey. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to worry about school. You don't have homework. You don't have other things weighing on you. You just kind of put all your eggs in one basket. And most teams are pretty good about getting you what you need to stay fit and on top of your game.
Often here in baseball, especially when you get to like July, the dog days of summer, there's a grind, and it can be mentally tough, especially if the team's struggling. You got to just find a way to be mentally tough because there are so many games in a short amount of time. Do you have a grind in hockey too? I mean, especially with a 60-game schedule at the junior level, is there that grind where you kind of hit that midway point and it starts to wear on you a little bit, or maybe not so much because you do get some days off here and there?
No, you definitely do. I would say it comes before playoffs, when you're just waiting to get to playoffs and you have to keep going through games, and it seems like everything's set, but it's kind of you're just going through phase after phase of games. I'd say that's kind of the grind when you're just excited to get the playoffs and get going, but it seems so far away.
And now you're at the collegiate level. How does the college game compare, contrast to junior hockey as far as maybe the competition level, the quality of the game? Yeah,
it's been a few years because I'm a senior now. So, but I remember when I was a freshman, I came in. I thought a couple things. One, it's quick, so I thought it was a bit faster than what I was used to playing. But in the same token, I thought it was a bit more scrambly as well. So I found it was a bit less structured and guys flying around more, but you had to make decisions a bit faster because guys were on you so quick. So I think it's a bit more run and gun than I was used to maybe, and a little more high risk, higher war, but I think that's the way hockey's trending in general, is a little more fast pace, up tempo. Less structured, people taking more risks. So I think that it's kind of trending with the general way hockey's trending.
Now, does it take you some time to transition, not only from a hockey standpoint, but just from the standpoint of now I'm a student as well, and so trying to juggle the academic side? Yeah,
for sure, a little bit. Just getting back into it. It wasn't too bad, but I think after a week or two, you're back in the rhythm of it. Like, I knew I always wanted to go back to school, so I was kind of mentally ready for it. It was just physically like, okay, now I actually have to sit down and do some homework and stuff,
We'll talk more about last season in a second, because I know you spent most of last season injured, but overall, looking back, 3+ seasons now with the Falcon program, have you been pleased with your play, with the team's play? Have you been pleased with how things have progressed?
From a team perspective, yeah, it's been awesome. I think you can see our growth, and I think we're really poised to put together a good run this year, and we have a good group of upperclassmen, which hasn't been the case like when I was younger. We had a lot of freshmen and a lot of sophomores, and there were only 4 or 5 seniors, but now it's kind of flipping, and that the bulk of our team is upperclassmen, so I'm excited about that. And we've improved every year, gotten better. Personally, it's been frustrating just being injured a lot. It's nothing that I can really control, but I just kind of do my best to put in the best effort I can when I'm out there,
Last year limited to a couple of games, and then injury occurred. Had you been injured before? Is it something that was kind of new to your career, having to overcome that obstacle?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I was lucky 4 years a junior playing 60 games a year. I maybe missed a handful of games over 4 years. And then come to college, I play my freshman year entirely. Sophomore year gets cut short halfway because I had a separated shoulder. And then junior year, I miss all but 2 games. And senior year, still dealing with it a bit. So it's kind of crazy how it happens. I thought I was kind of invincible a little bit. Didn't get any injuries in junior at all, but now it's kind of seemed to catch up with me. And I know guys have had luck the opposite way too, where they were injured their whole junior career, and now they seem to be good now. So it's kind of, injuries are fickle. They come and they go.
And so far this year, you've played 3 games. You've scored twice, including a power play goal a few games ago. Are you at or near 100%? Are you starting to get there, or is it still, in your opinion, ways away?
No, still kind of battling back. It's kind of a constant work in progress. So I've been kind of taking it day by day. Some days it feels good, some days it doesn't, but still working at it.
Now, from a team standpoint, again, record withstanding, this is a talented group. Certainly a tough stretch to begin, but all of a sudden able to get a couple of wins this past week. And how big was that for the team, just for morale, to get a couple of games finally in the win column?
Yeah, massive. It was pretty shocking that we started 0-5-1. I don't think that's a start that any of us saw coming. And just to kind of get that feeling and that taste of winning, I think is going to be huge. And not to say that we didn't play well before. I think we played just as well in some previous games as we did when we won in St. John's 3-2. I think we just got the bounces eventually, and I think we were due to get a bounce or two. So I don't think our record is necessarily indicative of 2-5-1. But I think that adversity at the beginning of the year could pay dividends down the home stretch.
And again, you can see the hockey team in action at the Ozaki Ice Center on Saturday at 7 p.m. against Lake Forest after facing Aurora down there at 2:50 on Friday. I have to ask you about your major, though. Actuarial science. What is that exactly, and how did that become your major?
So that is basically an actuary, works for an insurance company.
Okay. And
kind of helps with determining risk and determining insurance rates, things like that. I started in accounting originally because my mom's an accountant, so I started in that after a year, and then I kind of thought, I sat down with my advisor and looked for what else there was, because it was okay, but I thought there might be something that interested me more, and I just looked at the actuary classes, and they interested me. There were a bunch of math classes that I liked, so I took it for a year, and then I enjoyed it. I kind of just stuck with it, so now I'll be graduating with that, I guess.
So outside of hockey, what's the dream job? What do you see yourself potentially doing after?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I'd like to keep playing hockey if I get healthy. A lot depends on my body if it cooperates, but I'm honestly not sure. I enjoy my major and I enjoy actuary work, so I might look into that and pursue that, but honestly, open book, not really 100% sure.
Well, Steffen, best of luck with everything. Thanks a lot for your time, and hope to see you back on the ice at or near 100% in not too distant future.
Awesome, thank you.
When we come back, we'll talk with the Director of Sports Medicine, Angie Steffen, here on the Falcon Focus podcast.
The Student Personnel Administration in Higher Education, or SPAHI program at Concordia University, is designed for people who want to work in the university setting in any department. So if you're interested in working in academic advising, campus activities, residence life, admissions, financial aid, this program is really designed for anyone interested in those areas. The mission of Concordia is to help students develop in mind, body, and spirit, and that was really evident in the program. I really enjoyed that I could be in class one night and take what I learned and apply it on the job the very next day. My name is Amber Schiesel, and I am a SPAHI graduate.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast. Now talking with Director of Sports Medicine, Angie Steffen, a Concordia grad, former softball player as well. But got to ask you first, what's it mean? What is the Director of Sports Medicine?
I oversee the athletic training department, not the academic program, but the athletic training department. So we service all the student athletes here at Concordia, and we have 10 certified athletic trainers in the department. So there's myself, 6 full-time staff members, and 3 graduate assistant ATCs.
Now you worked your way to the top. Kind of take us through that journey, because you got to the top relatively quick.
I've been blessed.
Yeah, well, yeah.
When I graduated here in 2007, Concordia was adding the men's and women's hockey teams. So there was a need for an additional staff member, and I filled that role. So I was very lucky to get a staff position at a university right out of my undergrad education. So that's how I got in the door, and then over the years, as there were different personnel changes and others leaving the role, I climbed my way up.
Did you always?
Thank you, Rob.
Did you always want to get into the athletic training field? How'd that kind of come about?
I originally went to Green Bay out of high school for a semester, and I transferred in the winter over to Concordia, not really knowing what I was going to do. And when I did a visit here and met with an advisor, they asked what my interests were. I said, athletics, science, I do well in, and they said, you have to meet with Russ DeLapp. And I met with him and spent a half hour with him, and that was that.
Now, from an athletic standpoint, did you ever suffer any kind of an injury? Did you ever have to deal with an athletic trainer? And if so, did that ever kind of pique your interest in how kind of your body worked or how you handle certain injuries?
Not really, and that's usually the story for athletic trainers is, I tore my ACL in high school and blah, blah, blah. But I never had any significant injuries. So, my exposure to athletic training and athletic trainers before I was in college was really minimal.
Okay. So then who are some of maybe the doctors, athletic trainers, coaches, who are some of the people that have had the impact on you and impacted your career?
Well, certainly Russ. He was my program director as a student. He was my first supervisor as a staff member. Kate Leisner was, when Russ moved on to a different role, Kate was my boss at the time, and a great mentor. I've learned a lot from her, so those two stand out.
And maybe this is putting you on the spot to come up with something quick, but maybe what's the best piece of advice that you've received when it comes to your career?
Oh, boy.
Maybe how you handle the job, the stress, the various scenarios you're thrown into?
Probably to spend a lot of time in different settings so that you really know which setting you want to be in, whether it's a clinic setting or a high school setting, collegiate, manufacturing. So that's our students spend a lot of time doing different clinical rotations to get an idea of what kind of setting they want to be in.
I have to ask this question. Maybe this is just sick and this is just my interest, but what's the sickest, the grossest injury you've ever had to deal with?
Probably a tibial plateau fracture.
Say what?
Tibial plateau fracture.
Okay.
So the large shin bone in the lower leg. The top corner of that kind of fractures off and displaces a little bit. If you remember back to Sean Payton's sideline injury, he tore his ACL and had a tibial plateau fracture. And J.J. Watt had one as well. So. And
I know injuries can gross a lot of people out. They I'm guessing, cannot gross you out, at least not in this industry. And if you're going to be in this industry, you got to be able to tolerate some of the stuff you're going to see. So if injuries don't gross you out, what grosses you out? What kind of
Not
things
a lot.
Not a lot.
No.
Can't think of anything?
No.
Nothing? Well, you were a multi-sport athlete, going back to your Cedarburg High School days.
Yeah, Matt and I went to high school
back
and college together.
Bulldog pride. You eventually made your way to Concordia, and as you mentioned, you didn't start here as a Falcon. You started off at Green Bay, eventually made it the Falcon direction. Was softball something you wanted to do at the next level? Was that something you were hoping that, after high school you'd get the opportunity to play a collegiate sport, and was softball that sport?
Always.
And as a pitcher?
Yep, always. All throughout life, softball was my eat, sleep, and breathe sport. So.
It's crazy to think, you and I were talking off air, Steve Crook's coaching staff included at one point Rod Wiltink, who was the legendary head coach at Cedarburg. He was your coach with the Bulldogs. What did he mean to you as far as your playing career goes?
I have known him my whole life.
I'm sure you have.
My dad played slow pitch with him. And honestly, I didn't play any kind of softball until middle school.
Okay.
And Coach Wilterdink had a kind of after-school rec program, and him and my dad encouraged me, hey, you should come out and swing a bat and see how it goes. And that's really how it started. That was Coach Wilterdink. So.
Yeah, again, he was here for a couple of years. He was also the head coach once upon a time at MSOE on top of a lengthy, successful career at Cedarburg High School. Now at Concordia, you played with a number of players that you either played with at Cedarburg High School, maybe at a different level, you played against in the North Shore Conference. It was a close-knit group, wasn't it, here at Concordia?
It was. We had a lot of North Shore players on the team here at Concordia, so it was really fun.
So was there a comfort level there, or was it a little different though too? Like, hey, we had great battles against her team, and now all of a sudden you guys are on the same team trying to.
It was great being on the same team as them, because you were taking the top players from a lot of area schools, and now we were all on the same side, so it was really fun.
Was there ever a player you had on your team that you maybe didn't like at the high school level?
No.
Like, I can't stand her, and all of a sudden you play with her and you're like, wow, she completely different mindset than what I thought.
No.
Not at all.
As an athlete, I always admired and respected other top players. Even if they played with a chip on their shoulder, you just admire other players like that. So to have that chip on your team was bonus.
You can give me the real answer off air.
No.
But as far as your favorite Concordia softball memory goes, what are some of your favorite softball memories from your time here?
Hands down, winning the conference tournament and being part of the first team to ever advance to the NCAA tournament.
And if I remember correctly, that was the year the conference tournament began at MSOE, but ended at Wisconsin Lutheran, or you won it at Wisconsin Lutheran, am I correct?
I know we won it at Wisconsin
One year you
Lutheran.
won it at Wisconsin Lutheran.
That was the year. I don't recall it starting anywhere else, but
okay. I remember
I only remember the last day because that was the fun
the
day.
The championship day.
Right.
Now, you also helped coach Concordia softball once upon a time with Coach Kruk. Do you ever see yourself getting back into coaching? Is that something you'd like to try again at some point?
Probably not as long as I'm in the career that I'm in, just because of the time commitment and the travel. I now have 2 kids, so being on the road and working different sporting events all throughout the year, to add on top of that Saturday and Sunday travel, from February through May would be really difficult. So
I'm glad you brought up the kids, because I was going to ask you about the fact that you married a former Concordia baseball pitcher, Andy Steffen. We love Andy. He was a great pitcher during his time with the Falcons. But how did that kind of come about? How did you guys?
We actually didn't cross paths until after I graduated, so we were both graduated at that point.
So you never got to swap pitching advice to one another?
No, I mean, I know who he was. He knew who I was in college, but we never really kind of ran in the same crowd until 2007. So
now, are you guys still competitive when it comes to life, sports?
Yes, we try to play co-ed slow pitch together, and sometimes we've had to take different cars home.
Okay. Do you both try to pitch?
No.
Just you?
No, I mean, I'll throw every now and then in the alumni game, but that's about it these days.
Does he still pitch?
No, he just plays slow pitch outfield. Yeah.
No,
throws batting practice to his high school team, but.
I want to wrap it up by asking you about the athletic training program, because it's always had a very strong reputation here on campus, going back, a couple of decades at least.
It's the house that Russ built.
Good call. I guess my question to you to wrap it all up is, in your opinion, why is this program so successful? How does it continue to be so successful? Why is the reputation what it is and continues to be?
Academically, that is hands down Russ and Kate. So Russ built the academic program. The facility that we have was built, in 2001, and was top-notch, state-of-the-art, and that was all, fundraising and pitches from Russ to the administration, and he really realized that facility, and that, I think, helped bring numbers into the school. And then over the years, Russ and his faculty, and then as he stepped down and Kate stepped in, they've just done an incredible job with the faculty that they have here and the curriculum, and it's just been an incredible program.
Well, Angie, thanks a lot for your time. It was great taking a trip down memory lane. Continued success in your field, Director of Sports Medicine, and we'll do it again soon.
Thank you.
We'll have more of the Falcon Focus podcast coming up after this.
God never intended for us to live a comfortable life. He created us to go outside our comfort zones, to use our gifts and talents in the service of others, to live a you-first life in a me-first world. At Concordia University, it's our mission to prepare you for that path, so that you stand apart from the crowd and live a life that's actually uncommon. Concordia University. Live uncommon.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast. As all kinds of things going on around the scenes. I love doing a live show here from the Concordia Cafeteria, and glad to have you along for the ride as well here after the Thanksgiving break. But again, we thank both for our guests, Stefen Seel, the Concordia men's hockey senior forward, and Angie Steffen, the director of sports medicine, who has to climb over chairs just to make sure she gets out of the camera shot here for our final segment. Those are the things you don't see behind the scenes as we bring you this live show here via Facebook Live. And again, we'll be with you most Tuesdays, and now with the holiday season upon us, our schedule will kind of be hit and miss, but we'll be with you the next couple of weeks before we'll take a few weeks off for the holidays and then get you ready for 2019. But again, live from 9:30 to 10 a.m., Facebook Live. You can download the audio thanks to Podbean, listen through iTunes, and check out the archive video at cuwfalcons.com. Before we say goodbye, though, a couple of quick news and notes. In men's soccer, congrats go out to Gavin Flatico. He was named a first-team All-Region. He's been All-Region now for 4 years. Dago Diaz was named a third-team All-Region. Third year, he's been an All-Region selection. Then on the women's soccer side, Shannon Carroll, a third-team All-Region honoree. And a couple of quick scheduling notes. Tonight's men's basketball game at Dominican has been postponed. A makeup date has yet to be determined, but postponed due to weather concerns regarding travel. No news yet as we are sitting here live about the women's game, but they're supposed to play also in River Forest, Illinois, but against Concordia, Chicago, so across the street. Not sure if the weather's better across the street or not, but I'll tell you what, as of right now, they're still on. But stay tuned to CWFalcons.com for information as far as that tip-off goes, scheduled for 7 p.m. And then do note that this week on the Falcon Athletic Network, some broadcasts coming away on Saturday. Yes, December 1st already, and a women's and men's basketball doubleheader, the home openers for both inside the John Book Fieldhouse. The women at 2 p.m. in a rematch of last year's NAC Tournament Championship between the Falcons and Wisconsin Lutheran. The men's game will follow at 4:15 then that night from the Ozaki Ice Center. If you cannot be with us in person, with the men's hockey broadcast against Lake Forest, the puck will drop at 7 p.m. That will do it for this week's edition. Thanks to all involved. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of the Falcon Focus Podcast.